Here's my most requested follow-up video from my macaron tutorial. We're going to talk about buttercream fillings. I'm going to be making a separate video to talk about ganache fillings. There are many different kinds of buttercream, but I usually make American buttercream because it's the most simple. If you think American buttercream is too sweet, you could try using Swiss meringue buttercream. I don't recommend trying to add flavor to your macaron shells. Adding any extra liquid in the form of an extract to your macaron batter is likely to cause some issues. I have tried using some dry ingredients like cocoa powder and matcha powder to flavor them, and it works okay, but it usually does affect the texture of my shells. You can get a lot of flavor into a macaron with just the fillings alone. If you want to have a flavor combination, you can either add more than one flavor to your buttercream, or you can pipe a ring of buttercream and then add another flavor in the form of a jam or a curd to the center. The example that I'm showing you is a passion fruit buttercream with a passion fruit curd in the center. Here's another example. This is brown sugar buttercream with an apple pie filling in the center. These are examples of some of the flavors that I use for my fillings. I have these alcohol-based extracts that I buy at the grocery store. For vanilla flavor, I like to use vanilla bean paste, but you could also use vanilla extract. These Loran oils are typically used to make candy, and they have a very concentrated flavor, so you don't need to use much. Amaretti makes these syrups. This cotton candy one is one of my favorites. These powders are also a good option, and they come in lots of different flavors. I'm sure there are lots of other options for flavoring. These are just the things that I like to use. You can also use natural flavors from fresh or freeze-dried fruits. This is a strawberry puree that I made, and you can see that it has a lot of moisture in it. If I were to add this to my buttercream as it is, it would probably cause my buttercream to separate. So I like to make a reduction, either on the stove or in the microwave. I boil off all of the excess moisture so that I have a nice concentrated strawberry flavor without adding a lot of moisture to my buttercream. Let's get started with actually making our buttercream. The ratio of butter to sugar in American buttercream can vary widely. Some people use twice the amount of sugar as they do butter, and some people use twice the amount of butter as they do sugar. It really just depends on how sweet you want this buttercream to be. I like to use close to equal portions of butter and sugar. I added 2 sticks or 1 cup of softened unsalted butter to my mixer. I'm going to beat it on medium speed until it is pale yellow and smooth. I forgot to press record on this part, but the next step is to add in the powdered sugar. I start by adding equal parts of sugar to butter, so in this case that would be 226 grams. If you're making a filling for less than 2 dozen macarons, you can probably do half of this recipe. You'll need to stop your mixer and scrape down your paddle attachment and the sides of the bowl to make sure that everything is getting incorporated. Add in just a pinch of salt, about 1/8 teaspoon, to balance out the sweetness. Continue mixing on medium to medium-high speed until you have a nice fluffy texture. As a side note, you might need to add more powdered sugar if you're going to be flavoring your buttercream with an ingredient like fruit puree, because you have to add more of it than you do with the extracts. Now that you have a good foundation for your buttercream, let's talk about how much of each different flavor you would add. My advice when using extracts is to start with a little bit and add more as needed. When using vanilla bean paste, I add 1 to 2 teaspoons. When using the amaretti syrups, I add 2 teaspoons. And when using these powdered flavors, I start with 1 to 2 teaspoons. When adding a fruit puree, I start with 1 tablespoon. When using these oil-based flavors, you want to start with very little because they are pretty concentrated. I usually start with 1/4 teaspoon. The same goes for these alcohol-based extracts. To make the pina colada buttercream that I used in my original tutorial, I used the pineapple Loran oil and this coconut extract, and I started with about 1/4 teaspoon of each. After mixing them in and tasting it, I added about 1/8 teaspoon more of each until I was happy with the flavor. Today I'm going to make strawberry banana buttercream. So I'm starting with 1 tablespoon of my reduced strawberry puree. And then I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of banana extract. After combining the ingredients, I tasted it and I decided to add another 1/2 tablespoon of puree and another 1/8 teaspoon of the banana flavor. If your buttercream is too runny, you can just add some more powdered sugar. And if your buttercream is too thick, you can make it more thin by adding a little bit of milk or a little bit of heavy cream. This is what my finished product looks like, minus the macaron shells because I haven't had time to make those yet. Next video is going to be about how to make ganache fillings.